Chosen one, there are moments in life that arrive without warning. No announcement, no drum roll, no preparation, just a sudden shift in the atmosphere, a stillness that settles over everything you thought you knew, and then a change so profound, so complete, so impossibly timed, but the only explanation left standing when all the logic has crumbled is that something greater than human understanding reached down and moved on your behalf. This is one of those moments. Not for someone else, not for the person sitting next to you, for you, right now, in this season. In this chapter that you almost didn't survive. You have been waiting, that much is obvious. Anyone who has walked through what you have walked through knows the weight of waiting, the particular exhaustion that comes not from laziness but from faithfulness, from holding on when holding on made no earthly sense. You prayed when the bank account read zero. You praised when the diagnosis came back with words you couldn't pronounce. You kept showing up to a life that seemed to be ignoring all your effort, all your sacrifice, all your tears cried in private rooms where only God witnessed what it cost you to keep going. You did not quit, and that matters more than you know. Because here is what the enemy does not want you to understand. The fact that you are still here, still breathing, still believing, is not a coincidence. It is a conspiracy of grace. Every morning you woke up and chose faith over fear. Something was being written in a ledger you cannot see. Every time you refused to become bitter when bitterness would have been justified, something was being added to an account you did not open but that was opened on your behalf before you were even born. There is a record of your faithfulness. There is a God who saw every sacrifice. And that God, the one who holds time in his hands and destiny in his breath, is about to do something so extraordinary in your life that the people who watched you struggle will not be able to explain what they are seeing. A mega deposit is not just about money. Understand that from the beginning, when God deposits into a life, he deposits across every dimension of that life simultaneously. He deposits peace into a mind that has been a battlefield for years. He deposits health into a body that has been under siege. He deposits clarity into a situation that has been cloudier than a storm-filled sky. He deposits the right people, the right opportunities, the right doors swinging open at exactly the right moment. A mega deposit from heaven is a comprehensive reversal, not a partial improvement, not a slight upgrade, but a wholesale transformation that covers everything you have been lacking and everything you did not even know to ask for. Think about the story of Job. Here was a man who lost everything: his wealth, his children, his health, his standing in the community, and very nearly his faith. His friends sat with him and did what so many people do when they cannot understand someone else's suffering. They decided it must be punishment. They constructed elaborate theological arguments for why Job deserved what he was getting. They mistook his season of stripping for a sentence of condemnation. But they were wrong. They were so wrong that God himself had to step in and correct them publicly. What was happening to Job was not punishment, it was preparation. And when the preparation was complete, when Job had passed through the fire and come out refined rather than destroyed, God did not just restore what Job had lost, he doubled it. He deposited double into every category of Job's life. The ending of Job's story was not just recovery, it was multiplication. It was a mega deposit from a God who never wastes suffering and never forgets faithfulness. You are in your Job season. You may not feel like it right now. You may feel more like you are buried than planted. But there is a difference between buried and planted that everything depends on. When something is buried, it is put in the ground to stay there, to decompose, to disappear. But when something is planted, it is put in the ground to grow, to transform, to emerge in a form far more powerful and fruitful than the form it went into the ground in. A seed buried in dark soil does not know it is about to become a tree. It cannot see the light it is growing toward. It can only trust the process, surrender to the pressure, and allow what is happening in the darkness to prepare it for what is coming in the light. You are not buried, you are planted. And your season of emergence is closer than your doubt is trying to convince you. God is never late. This is one of those truths that sounds simple until you are in the middle of a crisis with a deadline and heaven seems silent. In those moments, this truth does not comfort, it challenges. It demands that you stretch your understanding of time beyond what your human experience has conditioned you to accept. Because God does not operate on your calendar. He does not check your schedule before he moves. He moves according to a wisdom so comprehensive that it accounts not only for where you are right now, but for where you need to be in 5 years, in 10 years, in the generation that will come after you. When God's timing seems late by your watch, it is because your watch is set to a time zone that cannot contain what he is planning. He is not behind, he is precise, and what is coming for you has been timed to the second. There is a woman in Scripture whose story has always stopped people in their tracks. She was bleeding for 12 years. 12 years of isolation, of rejection, of being considered unclean by the religious system of her day. 12 years of spending everything she had on doctors who could not help her. She had every reason to give up, every reason to accept that her condition was permanent, every reason to stop reaching. But she heard that Jesus was passing through her town, and something in her, something that 12 years of suffering had not managed to extinguish, rose up and decided that this was her moment. She pressed through the crowd. She endured the jostling, the indignity, the risk of being seen in public when her condition made her presence scandalous. She stretched out her hand and she touched the hem of his garment, and immediately the bleeding stopped. 12 years ended in a single moment of contact with the source of all healing. What 12 years of doctors, 12 years of treatments, 12 years of spending everything could not fix, one moment in the presence of God completely resolved. That is what a mega deposit looks like. That is how fast heaven can move when the time is right and the faith is present. Your reaching matters. Do not let anyone tell you that your faith is irrelevant to what is coming. It is not that God needs your faith to be powerful. He is powerful regardless of your belief. But faith positions you to receive what is already prepared. Faith is not the source of the blessing. It is the posture that puts you in alignment with the blessing. When you choose to believe, when you choose to declare that God is still good in the middle of your bad situation, when you choose to act as though the promise is already on its way even when your eyes cannot yet see it, you are not performing some empty religious ritual. You are positioning your entire life to catch what heaven is releasing. You are opening your hands, you are extending your cup, you are saying with your whole being that you expect God to be who He says He is, and God honors that expectation. Let's talk about what this deposit is going to look like in the practical, tangible, day-to-day reality of your life. Because faith is not ethereal, it is not some abstract spiritual concept that floats above real life. Real faith produces real results in real circumstances with real people and real resources. The deposit that God is releasing over your life right now is going to show up in places you can measure. Bank accounts are going to reflect it. Relationships are going to reflect it. Opportunities are going to reflect it. The phone is going to ring with news you have been waiting to hear. The door that has been closed for so long you started to forget you ever knocked on it is going to open. The person who has the connection you need is going to cross your path at a moment that seems random to everyone watching but is anything but random to the God who arranged it. Money is going to come. Say it out loud if you need to. There is nothing ungodly about expecting financial provision from a God who owns the cattle on 1,000 hills, who holds all the silver and all the gold, who promises to supply every need according to His riches in glory. You are not being greedy when you believe God for financial breakthrough. You are being faithful. You are taking Him at His word. The bills that have been stacking up, the debt that has felt like a physical weight on your chest, the financial pressure that has woken you up at 3 in the morning in a cold sweat. God sees every bit of it, and He is not moved by it the way you are moved by it. What looks to you like an impossible mountain looks to Him like a problem He solved before you were born. The provision is already prepared. It is on its way. The mega deposit is incoming, and when it arrives, it will not just cover what you owe, it will overflow into abundance that lets you bless others, build legacy, and eliminate the cycle of lack that may have followed your family for generations. The generational dimension of this is critical to understand. What God is doing in your life is not just for you. It never was. Every time God blesses a person in Scripture, that blessing has a reach that extends beyond the individual. Abraham was blessed to be a blessing. David was given a kingdom not just for himself but for the generations that would come through his lineage. The woman who touched Jesus' hem went on to testify of her healing in ways that planted faith in others who needed their own miracle. Your breakthrough is not a personal trophy to be hoarded. It is a testimony to be deployed. It is a resource to be stewarded. It is a story to be told so that someone else who is sitting in the darkness of 12 years of a bleeding situation can look at your life and find the courage to reach one more time. This is why the enemy has fought you so hard. Not because you are weak, but because you carry influence. Not because you are irrelevant, but because your destiny is a threat to the kingdom of darkness. Every attack you have endured has been a testimony to the scale of what is stored up for you. Small destinies do not attract large warfare. The ferocity of what has come against you is proportional to the magnitude of what is coming for you. When you understand this, the attacks do not disappear. They do not become painless or easy, but they stop feeling random. They start feeling like confirmation, like arrows pointing backward at how significant you are to the purposes of God in this generation. Look at your life honestly for a moment. Look at every closed door that forced you in a different direction and ask yourself whether the redirection led somewhere you could not have planned on your own. Look at every relationship that ended and ask yourself whether the ending created space for something better. Look at every season of waiting and ask yourself whether what emerged from the waiting was richer, deeper, more developed than what you would have received if you had gotten your answer on your original timeline. If you are honest, if you really look, you will find a pattern of divine orchestration that your fear was too loud to let you notice in the middle of it, but that becomes unmistakable in hindsight. God has been ordering your steps, every step, even the ones that felt like stumbles, especially the ones that felt like falls. He has been working all things together, not some things, all things, even the things you are ashamed of, even the mistakes you made in seasons of desperation, even the moments you stopped believing. All of it is being worked together for your good because you love God and you are called according to His purpose. That promise is not a suggestion, it is a guarantee with the weight of divine character behind it. Now here is what you need to do with this moment. Do not let it pass as just another inspirational word that made you feel good for a few hours before the weight of your circumstances pressed back in. This is a word you receive and then act on. Faith without works is dead. Not because works earn the blessing, but because genuine faith inevitably expresses itself in corresponding action. So what does action look like here? It looks like waking up tomorrow with a different posture. It looks like speaking about your future in the language of arrival rather than the language of waiting. It looks like preparing for what you are believing for. When you expect rain, you get your umbrella ready. When you expect a harvest, you prepare your barns. When you expect a mega deposit from God, you get your life in order to receive it and steward it well. Start speaking differently about your finances, your health, your relationships, your career, your calling. The tongue has creative power, not in some mystical manipulation of reality, but in the very practical way that words shape mindset and mindset shapes behavior and behavior shapes outcomes. When you speak defeat, you think defeat, and you move through the world in ways that align with defeat. When you speak victory, you think victory, and you begin to notice the doors that your defeat mindset was training you to walk past. Speak about the deposit, speak about the breakthrough, speak about the life that is coming rather than mourning the life that has passed. You are not lying, you are not pretending, you are calling those things that are not yet manifest as though they already are, because that is exactly what faith looks like when it is alive and working. Surround yourself with people who can see your future even when you cannot. This is not the season for relationships that pull you backward into narratives of limitation and lack. Find the people who have vision, who have faith, who have been through their own waiting seasons and come out on the other side with testimonies that reawaken your expectation. Not people who are blindly positive and refuse to acknowledge the reality of pain. That is not faith, that is denial. But people who hold both the reality of where you are and the reality of where God is taking you simultaneously, without letting either one cancel out the other. Those people are rare. They are worth finding. They are worth keeping close. Get into position for the deposit. In practical terms, this means doing your part while trusting God to do His. If the breakthrough is financial, get your spending habits in order so that when the provision comes, it does not pass through your hands like water through a sieve. If the breakthrough is relational, do the inner work of healing so that when the right relationship arrives, you are available to receive it rather than sabotaging it with unresolved wounds from the past. If the breakthrough is a career or calling breakthrough, invest in preparation, study, develop your skills, position yourself as someone ready to carry the weight of the opportunity that is coming. Faith and preparation are not opposites, they are partners. God can give you a platform, but preparation determines what you do with it when you get there. And perhaps most importantly, protect your peace in this season. The enemy's last strategy when he cannot stop a blessing is to agitate you so deeply in the days before its arrival that you receive it in a spirit of exhaustion rather than gratitude. He wants to steal your joy in the waiting so that even when the answer comes, you are too depleted to celebrate it properly. Do not give him that. Guard your peace ferociously. This does not mean pretending you are not tired. You probably are. It does not mean pretending you are not afraid. Fear is a human experience. It means choosing, in the midst of the tiredness and the fear, to anchor yourself in a peace that passes understanding. The kind of peace that does not make logical sense given your circumstances. The kind of peace that causes people around you to ask what you know that they do not know. What you know is simple and it is everything. God is not finished. The deposit is coming, the shock is real, and when it arrives, nothing will ever be the same. There are people reading these words right now who have been in their particular wilderness for 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. People who have watched others receive the breakthrough they prayed for and wrestled with the theological complexity of why God moved for someone else before moving for them. People who have prayed prayers so earnest, so desperate, so precise that they can still remember the exact words and the exact tears and the exact feeling of leaving the prayer room feeling heard but still waiting. This word is for you specifically. Your waiting is not evidence of your unworthiness. It is not evidence that God forgot you. It is not evidence that the promise was given to someone else by mistake. It is evidence that what is coming for you is so significant that the preparation for it required exactly the amount of time it has taken. The depth of the roots is always proportional to the height of the tree. You have been developing roots, the height is coming. Do not despise the day of small things. Do not look at the first signs of your breakthrough and dismiss them because they do not yet look like the magnitude of what you expected. The cloud the size of a man's hand that Elijah's servant spotted on the horizon was not much to look at. It was not the storm, it was not the downpour, it was a small thing, easily overlooked, easily dismissed as insignificant. But Elijah told his servant to go and look 7 times, and on the 7th look, that small cloud was there, and Elijah heard in it the sound of abundance of rain. He heard what it was becoming before it became it. You need that same prophetic sensitivity in this season. Pay attention to the small signs, the unexpected phone call, the random connection, the door that opens just a crack when every other door is sealed shut. These are not coincidences. These are the beginning of the downpour. Get ready, the cloud is forming. God is about to shock you. That word, shock, is intentional. It means that what is coming will exceed your category for it. You will not be able to fully anticipate it because it is bigger than your current framework can hold. You will not be able to plan for every aspect of it because it is more comprehensive than your strategic thinking can map. It will arrive in ways you did not predict through channels you did not know were available at a speed that will make you catch your breath. And when it arrives, your first response will not be a calm, measured acknowledgement that your prayers were answered. Your first response will be speechlessness, then tears, then laughter. The laughter of Sarah, who laughed because the promise was so far beyond anything her natural mind could have conceived that laughter was the only language available to express the gap between where she had been and where she suddenly found herself. That laughter is coming for you. The tears of relief are coming for you. The moment of speechless gratitude is coming for you. This is your word. Today, in this season, after everything you have endured and everything you have been faithful through and everything you nearly gave up on and every morning you got up anyway, this is your word. The chosen one, the God who set you apart before you were formed, who knew your name before the foundations of the world, who counted every hair on your head and every tear in your bottle, is about to shock you with a mega deposit. Not because you deserve it by human standards of merit, but because He is a God who keeps His promises, because He is faithful even when you were not. Because His plans for you are for good and not for evil, for a future and a hope, because He has loved you with an everlasting love and drawn you with loving kindness. Because the same God who spoke the universe into existence with words is now speaking life into your dead situations, resources into your empty places, and acceleration into every dream He placed inside you before the world told you it was impossible. Receive it. Open your hands, open your heart. Get ready for rain. The deposit is on its way.